The power of spirituality. The power of positive behavior can triumph over the power of negativity, while the power of negativity cannot win anything. It can only lead to destruction. Some people have extraordinary inherent qualities, due to which they are able to become masters of all situations. Such individuals can, when they come to a gathering, win the hearts and minds of people simply by appearing there. There is a saying about such persons: they came, they saw, they conquered. This kind of ability to conquer is not the monopoly of extraordinary people. Any ordinary person can also win the hearts and minds of people, provided they know the law of nature and can avail of it by the power known as the power of spirituality. According to the creation plan of God, all human beings, both men and women, have two different qualities: the ego and the conscience. The ego symbolizes arrogance, whereas the conscience symbolizes modesty. If there is controversy between two men, Mr. A and Mr. B, and Mr. A enters into a heated exchange and refuses to give Mr. B due respect and honor, this kind of behavior is bound to provoke Mr. B, who will try to teach Mr. A lesson. It is the situation which psychologists has analyzed thus: when one's ego is touched, it turns into a superego, and the result is breakdown. In this case, Mr. A gave a challenge to Mr. B, and Mr. B turned into Mr. Ego or Mr. Arrogant. This kind of behavior certainly will go against Mr. A, and Mr. A will fail to gain the upper hand over Mr. B. Then let us take the opposite case. Suppose there's a controversy between Mr. A and Miss B, in the course of which Mr. A avoids provoking Miss B, following the principle of modesty, a unilateral compromise. This kind of behavior on the part of Mr. A is bound to touch the conscience of Miss B. It will cause them to engage in introspection, and she will reconsider the whole matter. She may ultimately repent having behaved in such a way that was likely to cause friction. Whereas in the previous case, Mr. A was considered as a rival, in this particular case, Mr. A will become a friend. This kind of behavior is because Mr. A's behavior was different. It proves that when one's conscience is touched, it turns into superconscience, and the result is complete surrender. This second formula is within the reach of every human being and can be used quite successfully. However intelligent or ordinary a human is, when you use the formula of conscience, you're turning your rival against himself or herself, and it is a fact that one can fight against others, but it is very difficult to conquer against yourself. Herein lies the conquering ability of a modest person. One can say the second formula is a risky formula. There is every possibility that this kind of behavior will make the other person more arrogant. He or she may react more aggressively or maybe more dangerous. But this view is completely unfounded because it is due to the ignorance of power of nature, or more precisely, the power of spirituality. According to nature, if you challenge someone's ego, your success is doubtful because then the ego becomes superego. But when you challenge someone's conscience, your success is much more likely. People generally know the power of fighting, but the wise person will tell you that the power of conscience is greater than the power of ego. At the time of controversy, if you choose to fight, you will need arms. But when you opt for the spiritual method, you don't need any arms. the power of positive behavior can triumph over the power of negativity, while the power of negativity cannot win anything, it only leads to destruction.